Is there a major difference in free market and socialized healthcare? Why should we even care? Also, what's in the news with stories on hate speech bans, helping homeless people bans, federal cannabis bans, and feds selling Bitcoin? And an Ask Me Anything segment with several questions directly from you guys, my awesome listeners. This episode is brought to you by Heleum, a long-term savings accelerator allowing you to start investing in cryptos today without you having to do any of the busy work. Also brought to you by NordVPN, the fastest, easiest to use service to protect your online presence that I've ever used.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week from the state that is the home of Revolutionary War General John Stark, who famously said, "Live free or die, death is not the worst of evils." This is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Revolution needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at @TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode 78, Free Market Healthcare versus Socialist Healthcare. And it's Thursday, January 25th, 2018, when there have already been more than 83 people killed by police this year. And the United States stat clock shows us at $20,615,431,000,000 in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. On my list of potential episode topics, I've had free market healthcare versus socialist healthcare for a long time, but have just never had a really good chance to get to it yet. Well, with the recent news that Britain has canceled 50,000 surgeries due to overcrowding in hospitals this winter, I felt like now was a great time for the discussion. The Telegraph reported recently, every hospital in the country has been ordered to cancel all non-urgent surgery until at least February, in an unprecedented step by NHS officials. The instructions on Tuesday night, which will see result in around 50,000 operations being axed, followed claims by senior doctors that patients were being treated in third world conditions, as hospital chief executives warned of the worst winter crisis for 3 decades. Hospitals are reporting growing chaos, with a spike in winter flu leaving frail patients facing 12-hour-long waits, and some units running out of corridor space. Yeah, this is really what happens in a single-payer healthcare system when everyone is guaranteed free healthcare. Just as with all socialized items, rationing must occur eventually. It's the tragedy of the commons. The reason for this is simple. No one in the chain of healthcare providers has a motivating financial incentive to provide high-quality, timely services. But what is the alternative? Clearly, what we have here in the U.S. is not working for most people either. This socialized light, anything but free market healthcare that we have here is a mess, but it is certainly much better than what Britain has. In the Lava Spurt episode 19, I talked about some specific, actionable healthcare changes that could be implemented that would have an instant impact on the high cost and low quality healthcare that we have today. And those ideas were based on some ideas from Whole Foods CEO John Mackey. You can listen to that episode at thelavaflow.com/TLS19. But today we're going to look at an area of U.S. medicine that is as close to a free market as we can find today. Boob jobs, and LASIK. The main difference between these types of procedures and their costly cousins is that patients are required to pay for these items with their own money, instead of these items being covered by insurance or government healthcare funds like Medicaid and Medicare. I work in healthcare, and I have for nearly a decade. The biggest department in my company is our billing department, because it takes a fucking village to wade through the regulatory and bureaucratic nightmare bullshit of the government. This increases the costs astronomically. Consider these facts. Since 1992, the price of medical care has increased an average of 118%. The price of physician services rose by 92%. The inflation rate for all goods and services, as measured, increased by 64%. Yet cosmetic surgery prices only rose about 30%. The inflation-adjusted price of cosmetic medicine actually fell over the past 2 decades, despite a huge increase in demand and considerable innovation. So why is this the case? Why is the price of cosmetic surgery actually going down after adjusting for inflation, while the price of every other area of medicine is increasing at rapid rates? The price of cosmetic medicine was held in check by a variety of competitive forces. Doctors who perform cosmetic services quote package prices and generally adjust their fees to stay competitive. The industry is constantly having to develop new products and services that expand the market and compete with older services. As more cash-paying patients demand procedures, doctors rush to provide them. There are few barriers to entry in cosmetic surgery. Any licensed physician can enter the field. Even with all the major government regulations, this sounds pretty free market to me, or at least as close as you can get with healthcare in the current United States. Entrepreneurial physicians are also on the lookout for new ways to market their services. Consider the ubiquitous deal of the day emails where Groupon and Living Social offer goods and services to subscribers at greatly reduced prices. These daily deal promoters offer numerous medical-related services, including Botox, corrective eye surgery, dental teeth cleaning, teeth whitening, laser hair removal, laser facial resurfacing, cosmetic fillers, spider vein, and brown spot removal at highly discounted prices. This defies the conventional wisdom that a doctor would never advertise a bundled cash price, much less extend that offer to hundreds of thousands of random people sight unseen. Yet the offers land in millions of email inboxes every day, and competition is fierce. One criticism that skeptics often voice in discussions about fostering patient consumerism is that a patient having a heart attack is not in a position to shop for the cheapest cardiac care from the back of an ambulance, taking them to the emergency room. Few people would disagree with this, but only about $1 out of every $20 is spent on patients who enter the healthcare system through the emergency room door. That's 5%. And frankly, that 5% should be covered under some sort of catastrophic insurance, not this let's cover everything and raise the cost of all healthcare and call it insurance bullshit that we have now. Are your oil changes and brake replacements covered under your car insurance? Of course not. Only major incidents are. And that's exactly how healthcare insurance should be as well. Consider the experience of an insured patient whose doctor orders an abdominal CT scan. Receiving this service at a hospital outpatient department could cost the patient or her health plan nearly $3,000, depending on whether the patient's deductible has been met. Yet this same service is available outside the hospital at a medical imaging center for prices that are often 85% less. Few health plans provide the tools for enrollees to compare prices, and few patients have any incentive to ask about prices. Doctors and hospitals don't quote prices and don't compete on price because most patients are largely insulated from the adverse effects of not making price comparisons and acting like actual consumers. Both economic studies and common sense confirm that people do not shop carefully and prudently when someone else is picking up the tab. The contrast between cosmetic surgery and other medical services is important. One sector has a competitive marketplace and stable pricing. The other does not. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In more new laws in 2018 news, No Friend to Liberty, Germany on January the 1st began enforcing strict rules that could fine major internet sites such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube up to $60 million if they don't remove posts containing hate speech within 24 hours of receiving a complaint. The law requires companies to maintain a, quote, effective and transparent procedure for dealing with complaints that users can access readily at any time. Upon receiving a complaint, social media companies must remove or block obviously illegal content within 24 hours, though they have up to a week when dealing with complex cases. Germany's government isn't the only one that wants social media companies to do more about hate speech. While the European Union in mid-2017 acknowledged Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Microsoft for doing a better job, the EU said it managed to block twice the volume of hate content at a faster rate than those companies did in the beginning of the year. Now, clearly freedom of speech doesn't matter in the world anymore, and not just in Europe. In the U.S., lawmakers have taken a harder stance toward the companies ever since Russian agents supposedly abused some social media sites to try to sway the 2016 presidential election. Like it or not, hate speech is speech, and so is speech meant to sway people to their ideas. You may not like it, but facts are stubborn things, whether you like them or not. For any government, to force a company to restrict speech on their platform is disgusting. If Facebook and Twitter want to do this on their own, fine, great, whatever. But to restrict their speech at the barrel of a gun is despicable. In government insanity news, a suburban Chicago resident who was offering up slumber parties in his basement for homeless people in his neighborhood during dangerously cold weather says city officials have given him an ultimatum. Either stop the slumber parties or the house will be condemned. What the actual fuck? Thanks to Rasad, one of my supporters, for sharing this story with me. Greg Schiller of Elgin said he began letting a group of homeless people sleep in his unfinished basement last month during brutally cold nights, offering them food, warm beverages, and a cot to sleep on while watching movies. He said, I would stay up all night with them and give them coffee and stuff and feed them, adding that no drugs or alcohol were allowed inside his residence during the evening events. Last winter, Schiller offered up his garage to area homeless, but said he was told he could no longer do so after EMTs were called to help a man with a heart condition. That's when he had the idea to move them to his basement, complete with all the activities needed to consider them simply slumber parties. Schiller believed city code allowed for slumber parties, but officials said there were sleeping regulations for basements, and Schiller's basement doesn't meet those requirements, of course. City spokesperson Molly Sunder said in a statement, quote, while we appreciate those who volunteer to provide additional resources in the community, Mr. Schiller's house does not comply with codes and regulations that guard against potential dangers such as carbon monoxide poisoning, inadequate light and ventilation, and insufficient exits in the event of a fire. I guess freezing to death in the street is much better than having to sleep in a place with inadequate lighting. Schiller said city officials and police officers came to his home with a warrant and went into his basement. There, he said, they found his ceiling height too low and windows too high and too small to be an egress. He said, they shut me down and said I have 24 hours to return my basement to storage and take down. I have several cots with sleeping bags for everyone, or they'll condemn the house. He noted that some shelters in the area require homeless to meet a specific set of criteria, and others open only when temperatures reach a certain level. PADS of Elgin confirmed that there are requirements to be eligible for their services, but declined to specify what those criteria included. You know, this one almost left me speechless, but you know me better than that. I can't leave this one alone without some commentary. So, fuck the city of Chicago in the neck during a slumber party. These people are literally condemning some people to death over this asinine and insane decision. These asshats literally sent men with guns to this man's house to have him cease and desist from helping save people's fucking lives. How crazy is that? And they still have the gall to say they have the needs of the people under their rule in mind. I call bullshit. Imagine if your savings had the power to grow all by itself, without you having to do any busy work. Introducing Heleum, a long-term savings accelerator powered by Uphold, an online wallet that lets you easily store your money as dozens of national and cryptocurrencies. Conversion rates between currencies are constantly moving up and down. Heleum watches these rates for you so that it can convert your funds when the time is right. By floating into currencies when they're down and floating out when they're up, Heleum automatically collects small gains every chance that it gets. Just add funds to Heleum from your bank or digital wallet, and you're done. Heleum will notify you whenever your account grows, so you can enjoy more of what matters in life. Heleum. Let your money move you. Sign up today at thelavaflow.com/savings. Now, I've personally used this product since the beta, and I still use it, and I've seen it work as advertised, or I wouldn't recommend it to you. Join me in accelerating your savings by signing up at thelavaflow.com/savings. In cannabis makes people crazy news, after the largest state in the country just started allowing legal recreational cannabis, Attorney General Jess Fuckstick Sessions has rescinded an Obama-era policy that paved the way for legalized marijuana to flourish in states across the country, creating new confusion about enforcement and use. Instead of the previous lenient federal enforcement policy, Sessions' new stance will instead let federal prosecutors, where marijuana is legal, decide how aggressively to enforce the long-standing federal law prohibiting it. The Obama administration in 2013 announced that it would not stand in the way of states that legalize marijuana, as long as officials acted to keep it from migrating to places where it remained outlawed and keep it out of the hands of criminal gangs and children. Sessions is rescinding that memo, written by then Deputy Attorney General James M. Cole, which had cleared up some of the uncertainty about how the federal government would respond as states began allowing sales for recreational medical purposes. The marijuana business has since become a very sophisticated, multi-million-dollar industry that helps fund some government programs. 8 states and the District of Columbia have legalized marijuana for recreational use, and California's sales alone are projected to bring in $1 billion annually in tax revenue within 7 years. Now, while I don't support tax revenue, at least that money is not being taken directly out of people's pockets in the form of income tax. But the Sessions Justice Department believed the Cole memo created a safe harbor for marijuana sales that are federally illegal, Justice Department officials said. Sessions in the memo called the Obama guidance unnecessary. Fuckstick Sessions is so out of touch with reality that he literally said that cannabis is as bad for you as heroin and has blamed it for spikes in violence. Anyone who believes that cannabis is as harmful as heroin, and anyone who believes that it is anything but the war on drugs that causes the violence deserves our disdain, period. You don't see people killing each other over beer or cigarettes, do you? Of course not, because those substances aren't prohibited. End the drug war. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But, as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In government theft news, the U.S. government has been approved by a federal judge in Utah to auction off 513 Bitcoin and 512 Bitcoin Cash seized from an investigation into Aaron Michael Shamo, a dark web drug dealer. In the upcoming weeks, the government is expected to sell all of the assets seized after the arrest of Shamo, including a Ford F-350 pickup, a BMW 135i, and the millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. On May 31st, 2017, Shamo, along with other dark web operators, including Drew Wilson Crandall, Mario Anthony Noble, and Sean Michael Giggy, were found guilty of conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance, aiding the importation of a controlled substance, intentional adulteration of drugs, use of the U.S. mail in drug trafficking, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and engaging in monetary transaction and property derived from specific unlawful activity. Immediately after the dark web criminals were found guilty of the charges filed by the FBI, the Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash holdings of the dark web operators were seized and moved to the custody of the United States Marshals Service. However, in the official court document released and approved by Utah District Judge Dale A. Kimball, the U.S. government stated that it is costly to securely store the seized cryptocurrencies for a long period of time. According to the court document, the U.S. Marshals Service has been paid $465 per month to store the two cryptocurrencies. The U.S. government also expressed its concerns over the high volatility rate of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and suggested to sell the two cryptocurrencies before their value depreciates. The court document read, quote, "The Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash have been seized and are already in the custody and control of the United States Marshals Service. Every month, the USMS is accruing $465 a month in storage fees for these. The total expenses for these two currently is $5,010.70. The BTC and BCH have been transferred to a government wallet. Due to the volatile market for cryptocurrencies, the BTC and BTH risk losing value during the pendency of the forfeiture proceedings." Now, I never have stored $8.5 million of crypto before. God, I wish. But I have stored crypto, and I've never had to pay a penny for that storage. Ever. This is ludicrous. There is no reason, other than incompetence, that the government is having this issue. Put the Bitcoin in a hard wallet and put it in a safe. Or hell, put it on a paper wallet and put it in a safe. There is no cost to this. Only the government could fuck up something so simple. Of course, this is coming from the same government that decided to sell 144,336 Bitcoins at $336 per coin for $48.5 million. If they had waited just a handful of months, they could have sold that same amount of Bitcoin for more than $2 billion. In some personal news, thank you so much for your patience the last couple of weeks with this super late episode. I pulled my hamstring, which made it nigh impossible to sit in my studio to record, and I tried. It sucked. So on top of some other minor embarrassing medical issues, I'm pretty much over everything now, and I'm feeling great. So I'll have the next episode out before you even know it, I promise. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email ama@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
Welcome to my latest segment. Now, I'm going to be using this segment every couple of weeks to help this show become more interactive and to talk about the topics that you really want to hear about. Now, it's really easy to ask me a question for this segment. Just send an email to ama@thelavaflow.com or look out for my periodic post in the Pax Libertas Pro Fans Facebook group. If you're a supporter of this show, then you get first dibs. Your questions will always be answered first, and you will have a Facebook post in the Lava Flow Super Secret Supporters group on Facebook. And if you're one of my supporters and you're not in that group already, shoot me an email and let me know so I can make sure to get you in there. Also, I've received a lot more questions than I thought that I would, so I'm not going to be able to tackle all of them in this episode. But rest assured, if you didn't hear your question answered here yet, I still have it, and I will get to it soon, I promise. So let's jump right into this, shall we? Bronson R. asked, I'm curious about what you have planned for the new year. I know you've made mention of a new female-hosted podcast. What's going on there? Thanks for the question, Bronson. I'm stoked about what I have coming out this year. The female-hosted podcast that I initially talked about a few months ago fell through due to some co-host issues, so sadly that's on the back burner right now. However, I do have 2 amazing podcasts coming out any day now. And these are both coming along awesomely. Well, as a matter of fact, one of them is pretty much already out. Now, I've heard the first couple of episodes for both of these podcasts, and you guys are just going to love them. The first one is called One Free Family, a new take on peaceful parenting, and it's already out. The trailer's out, and by the time that you get this episode, the first episode of One Free Family will be out as well, and you can get that at onefreefamily.com. There's also a Facebook page and a Facebook group called One Free Family that you can check out as well. Now, this one is hosted by a couple of my friends in New Hampshire, James and Taylor Davis. Since moving here to New Hampshire, I've learned so much from so many people in this community on so many things, but specifically raising my kids to be peaceful, independent little human beings. Of all the amazing people I've learned from in this, none of them have been more helpful and more of an inspiration to me than James and Taylor. If you have kids, or if you've ever thought of having kids, or if you just want to deal with kids in a better way, then this podcast is for you. I've already learned so much in editing just the first couple of episodes, and I know that you're going to learn so much out of this as well. If you're into peaceful parenting or you would just want to learn more about it, please check it out at onefreefamily.com. The other podcast I've got coming out probably next week is called Anarcho-Christian, evaluating the relationship between the Christian and the state, and it's hosted by Stephen Rose. Now, I'm an atheist, and you guys know that, and I've been that way for a long time. But I still enjoy the content that Stephen puts out. It's always very well thought out, well-reasoned, and logical. He has an existing webpage at anarchochristian.com and his social media presence for his brand, and he reached out to me for help with exploring a podcast for his ideas. After checking out his content and learning more, I knew I had to work on this one with him. Again, as soon as it's ready to go, I'll add a trailer for this in your feed so that you're not going to miss it. Next question. David F. asks, what are your thoughts on the big tent philosophy as it pertains to the LP, and do you think it has hurt the party? You know, David, thanks for the question, and I've always felt that the Libertarian Party must stay big tent as much as possible without succumbing to statism, and that's a very tough, fine line to walk. I get that. The reason for this is that many people's introduction to libertarianism is through the Libertarian Party, and we need a vehicle to capture those wannabe new libertarians and teach them the philosophy. Some will stick around and become true libertarians one day. Many will find out about true libertarian and turn their back on it, and good riddance. And many are going to stay wannabes for a long time. But there are many good libertarians who got their start in the LP, including me. However, where I draw the line is at changing the very libertarian parts of the platform to appease wannabes and nominating wannabes to run for office. Look, please invite the town drunk to go to church, but don't have him preaching from the pulpit the next week. And that's what you're doing when you have these non-libertarians running for libertarian office. The problem is that as the LP makes it more and more difficult to be a breeding ground for anarchist libertarians by nominating real strong statists, former drug warriors, and anti-gun politicians for high office, and by outright trying to shame anarchists into silence, it pushes more and more of them to leave the party just like I did. Now, this means there are less anarchists in the party to keep it libertarian. And it also means that the party will eventually become too far gone. But I am not going down with a sinking ship. Thanks so much for the question, David. You know, I hope the LP will eventually come to their senses and welcome anarchists back into the fold properly, but I'm not holding my breath. Stephanie P. asked, I've never heard you say bad stuff about living in New Hampshire. What are the drawbacks? You know, it's funny that you asked me this, Stephanie, because my wife and I were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Honestly, the only one that we could even consider as a drawback for us was the cold and the snow, but that was only a drawback initially. Now that we're much more used to that, we love the snow, and the cold doesn't bother you when you're inside with the heat, any more than the heat and humidity in the South didn't bother me in the summer when I was inside with the air conditioner on. Now, I much prefer the weather and climate in New Hampshire over where I used to live. We get 4 amazing seasons here, and I love each one of them. Thanks for asking, Stephanie. You know, I love talking about all the benefits of living in New Hampshire, so any questions about life here are always more than welcome. You should consider coming up for PorkFest this year. My wife and I are producing the 15th annual PorkFest from June 19th to the 24th in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's the premier event for libertarians every year, and we're going to have an amazing lineup this year of speakers and events. You can get more information at PorkFest, it's PORC, fest.com, and tickets go on sale February 9th, so make sure to jump on those early bird prices on February 9th. My next 2 questions are very similar, so I'm going to tackle these together. Christopher O. asked, we all know that New Hampshire is the greatest place to live on the planet. But if you were forced to move not only out of New Hampshire, but to a different country, where would it be and why? And Mark Clare from the Lions of Liberty podcast asked, if you had to swap locations with me, Los Angeles, Johnny Adams in Seattle, or Chris Spangle in East Buttfuck, Indiana, whom would you choose? And yes, Mark Clare is the one that said East Buttfuck, Indiana, not me, I promise. So, I've spent a lot of time in LA and Seattle and Indiana before, and out of those three, I think I would have to choose Seattle every time. I loved Seattle. It was such a cool, fun town, and believe it or not, I loved the weather up there. LA does have better weather, yes, but I would never live in the socialist country of California. I couldn't do it. And Indiana is the exact opposite, too conservative and redneck. I moved away from a redneck state for a reason, and I lived in the redneckest of them all. Why would I want to go back to that? Now, to answer Christopher's question, if I had to move out of New Hampshire or die, I think I would die. I mean, death is not the worst of evils, after all we've heard earlier today. But in all seriousness, this is a really, really tough question to answer. While I love the idea behind Hong Kong and many of the things that have happened there, I think the culture shock would be way too much for me. I've always been fascinated by Scotland, but I'm not sure if I would want to live there for good. While Liberland is a great idea, it needs to get its issues resolved before it's a viable destination. Maybe when Roger Ver has his new libertarian country up and running, we can all move there. Until then, I'm going to stay happy in New Hampshire and love my life. And, finally for this episode, my very good friend Vince asked, would you reconsider your faulty voting analogy? In the past, you've said that libertarian activism in politics is like fighting a war for peace. However, the correct analogy would be libertarians taking over government, a corresponding reduction in government, peace activists taking over weapons of war, a corresponding reduction of war. Your faulty analogy assumes that if principled peace activists were to take over military tanks, fighter jets, and battleships, they'd continue murdering people. Obviously, they'd do the exact opposite. I hope you'll consider my question. Also, give your wife a kiss for me. Vince, thanks so much for the question. The answer simply is no. Moving on now. Oh, no, in all seriousness, this was one that was very difficult for me to come to. This was one of the last pieces of me moving over to full voluntarism. I was still a voting libertarian for a long time. It was only after finding the book, No Bullets, No Balance, by accident, that I changed my position on this. And, speaking of that book, I was given the authorization from the author, Carl Wagner, to put it up on Amazon to sell. He and I are splitting the profits from the sale of this book, so if you want to check it out and couldn't find one of the 2,000 original printings of this book, go to the lavaflow.com/bullets and grab a copy in either paperback or Kindle. Also, on the Essential Libertarianism podcast, I'm going to be getting into voting soon, and we'll have several episodes on that topic read from voluntarist.com. I've only got a couple more left in the homeschool section, and then we'll be jumping right into voting. I also talked about voting on this show in episode 48. The to vote or not to vote edition, which you can listen to at the lavaflow.com/48. My current thoughts on voting can be summed up in a simple statement said by a good friend of mine, Link, when she said, "Let it never be said that we participated in the oppression of our neighbors. Never vote again." Oh, and Vince, you can kiss my wife for yourself whenever you decide to quit wandering the world and get your ass back home where you belong. We miss you, brother. If you left a question for me but didn't get your answers yet, it's because I just ran out of time. But rest assured, I will be getting to all of them in time, I promise. I'm looking forward to hearing your questions now. Send them to me at ama@thelavaflow.com or just join the Pax Libertas Pro Fans group in Facebook and comment on the post there for me. Thank you for all of your questions so far, guys. It's been great. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite isolation booth partner, Jessica, for her help with this show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/78. I don't have any new supporters this week, but thanks to all of my awesome supporters, I am at $255 per episode, or 51% of the way towards my next goal of $500. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I will be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. If you want more of the lava flow, exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so please make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I've got one new Apple podcast review since the last episode. Christopher D. from Norway said, "A must listen. Roger Paxton is the moral compass the libertarian movement needs. I don't agree with him on whether we should engage in politics, but that's just trivial. We need extremists like Roger to keep us philosophically centered." Christopher, thanks so much. A much appreciated review from the other side of the big river. If you guys have a minute and you want to hear your review on this show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids like Christopher are doing it. Thank you to everyone who has left me a rating and review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't had a chance, can you guys help me out and please go leave a review for me? Again, go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Also, I've had 3 new people buy Bitcoin through a Coinbase account using my affiliate link and purchase at least $100 in Bitcoin. Remember, if you do this, you and I both get a free $10 in Bitcoin. Thanks to Paolo M., Timothy R., and Ronald A. for doing this and for getting all of us some free jingle. If you want a free $10 in Bitcoin too, go to thelavaflow.com for an account and buy at least $100 in Bitcoin. What are you waiting for? Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.